So if I understand it correctly, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's little devices, his Ant-Man devices, they alter the reality of things, thereby allowing toys to become real things.
Yes.
I can't help but feel that none of my childhood toys would have been extreme. Like, none of them would not cause problems for me to suddenly become real. Just the Millennium Falcon. I can't take responsibility for that. Action Man or any of his enemies. None of these things are going to be very helpful in the long run.
For me, Rock and Chris Evans wouldn't have been enough. They need a bigger crew to pilot the Megazord, which really would have helped this movie if they were, piloting a Gundam robot,
I mean, when does a Gundam robot not solve all problems immediately?
That's true. If you're going out on an adventure and all you've got is OG Megazord, which Zord is the most useful what's the most all-terrain of the Zords to inconspicuously take on your adventure?
Well, you got the car benefit with the saber-toothed tiger and the Triceratops.
Triceratops is more like a car, so I kind of feel like he could be mistaken for just a novelty all-terrain vehicle.
Yeah, feels fair.
Yeah, it's a bit tanky, and you got the horns at the front for extra protection. Actually, for the record, you were saying a particular Hot Wheels vehicle you would have...
look. It's just a line from this movie where, who gets a normal-looking Hot Wheels? And I was really hoping they'd crack out the Shark Hot Wheels, because I always wanted that as a kid. It looked like Shark. And was disappointed, but I didn't see it. Speaking of sharks, though, I thought, Elliot, you were going to say Street Sharks.
Oh, yeah.
Bring them to life.
Yeah.
And be like, who cares about the rest of this, adventure we're on, Dwayne The Rock Johnson? We have Street Sharks now.
The thing that worries me about that, and the Street Shark thing reminded me, is I did have some sort of oral fixation thing when I was a kid where I did chew on most of my toys. If I use one of these little discs on them, are they coming to life partly chewed? Because the Street Shark is not going to be happy with me.
It's going to have words when it grows to full size.
Let's talk about my fucking nose, shall we?
Listen, kid, I know you're a child, but you got to stop.
Defend me, Slamu. You.
It's Soviet Russia. Shark eats you. No, most places in context, that's how it goes down.
It's a hell of a way to find out your childhood heroes hate you.
Hello and welcome to One Good Thing, the podcast that actually loves the grown-ups. It's the kids that are killing us. Keep the children out of Christmas, everyone. Just stay home, drink mulled wine, and watch Christmas Evil. I don't know what it means. I'm Paul. What, The Rock's name in this movie is Callum? God, that's shit. Jesus. I'm joined by these fine festive lads, Elliot and BT.
Hello.
Hello.
Also, hi.
Merry happy.
Happy, everyone. They have decided to give us something to fear by suggesting the 2024 Christmas action film, Red One.
What am I doing here?
Last night, Red One, also known as St. Nicholas of Myra, was abducted from the North Pole complex.
Are you saying Santa Claus has been kidnapped? Garcia? What the hell? You can't trust this guy. He's on the list. You don't mean that list. NL4. Are you telling me this clown is a level 4 naughty lister? A level 4 naughty lister? Oh, is that funny to you?
Hey! You're gonna help us find Nick.
Hey, dag the horse. No.
Just to get into the Christmas spirit this year, why not do the most un-Christmassy Christmas movie I've ever seen?
Yeah, why not The Rock Saves Christmas, sort of, kind of?
God bless the canon of which this now joins, and we shall get into the severe reevaluation of certain Christmas classics that this is going to cause when we get to the one better thing. But for now, let's talk about how this came about, because this idea comes from Hiram Garcia, who has produced most of Rock Johnson's projects since 2012, including all 5 seasons of Ballers. He also looks a lot
That's a
like
thing.
Rock Johnson and is the brother of Danny Garcia, The Rock's ex-wife, who also produces most of his films under her production label. So
You've just opened so many questions. A woman married someone who looks a lot like her brother. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's
That's-
like part one.
Yeah. This is going to have to be a multi-part podcast about The Rock's fucking situation. It's so weird. For some reason, it makes me think about Vin Diesel's situation, which I guess explains perhaps some of the tension. Maybe there were rival entourages going on of identical-looking dudes.
Definitely. And look, this movie, I think, is just a symptom of The Rock's current problems at the moment and his general public
too big.
perception, and just like it will be a fascinating documentary at some point down the road.
Rock bottom coming in 2030.
I'm really curious as to how it compares with the early days of Arnie's career, which are comparable, I think, but less tracked, perhaps. I've not read any biographies or autobiographies of his, but I'd be curious if there was in any way a sort of similar trajectory here.
Well, Arnie pursued a career in politics, and then for the Young Rock TV series, the framing device of that is he's on a campaign to be US president, and he's being interviewed about his life. Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
the premise of that.
Yep.
You threw out the term Young Rock TV series as though I had any familiarity with that being even existing. So, what?
I suddenly thought about the Young Chris Rock series, of which there was also one.
Oh, yeah.
No, and fueling Rock's ego, there was no way it'd be called Everybody Hates Dwayne. No, it's it's Young Rock, and everyone fucking loves him.
Fuck me.
4 seasons.
Oh.
What's going on, America? Oh, Jesus. It's not inexplicable. Anything that's
Why
happening
is
there
this
right now.
just the deepest iceberg I never knew just kept going?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is The Rock and his situation. It also reminds me of the Adam Sandler situation. It's just crowds of men making these things in my head. But anyway, the idea was then developed into a screenplay by Chris Morgan, who has written every Fast and Furious movie since the third one.
Okay.
Also wrote Cellular, Wanted, 47 Ronin, the Mummy remake, and Shazam 2. So goddamn him.
Wow, that makes him like an 11 or something?
Yeah. It's fucking rough. What a writing
And
career.
yet would be a fascinating person to talk to. Like, imagine sitting down to write, Fast and Furious 11 and be like, what the fuck do we even do?
In my head, he still has a Stephen King style main based New England writing room, all wood oak, overlooking a forest with a deer, and he just comes and sits at his typewriter and it's like, I think we need to bring Jason Statham back.
Yes, we need to add more NOS.
What if the cars went fast?
Vroom, vroom, boom, boom.
Biggest problem with that franchise is they've moved past NOS.
See, that's where it all went wrong.
That it literally is. The film is directed by Jake Kasdan, who previously directed much-loved parody comedy Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, and then less-loved comedy movies Bad Teacher and Sex Tape, but also Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and The Next Level. So,
yeah.
Again, he's in the entourage.
I didn't actually mind those Jumanji flicks.
Yeah, no, they're fun.
Yeah, fine little...
I remember liking him okay.
Yeah, fine little fun family action movies. Yeah.
Yep. They're what's on the tin.
And yeah, I am a massive fan of Walk Hard. I don't know how many times I've seen that goddamn movie. Especially, being a musician, being a fan of that particular era of music, and also all the films that they're parodying and ripping shit on. I adore that flick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That movie had gets releases a couple of times, here in London in the repertory film kind of circuit. They sell out so quick. People love that movie.
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen it actually.
Good.
I've not gotten into a screening yet.
Oh wow!
If you've seen Ray and Walk the Line, are kind of the prerequisites. If you've seen those and maybe a few other biopics, you will love it. It is gorgeous satire.
Yeah,
love that.
It's the kind of thing where any biopic that came after it, it's just
is just an embarrassment.
Yeah, and to the point where you have to try something different. And again, I feel like I need for people other than me to confirm this exists, but there's a Pharrell biopic that's coming out that's animated entirely in Lego.
Yep, I've seen it. I've reviewed it. It's Yeah, I think that the line I keep using is, it's uninteresting in a really interesting way. Because
also-
the thing is, Pharrell Williams' life has been quite nice. So he's just had an all right life.
He's just had a
is
good
the
time.
thing.
That's lovely.
He's had a good time, and the big dramatic culmination of his story is going to be that he writes happy. You know?
And nothing else, and there were certainly no legal arguments after the,
Ooh,
no.
And no issues with blurred lines whatsoever, so everybody
Yeah,
just relax.
yeah. But also there's that Robbie Williams biopic where he's being played by a Muppet.
Yeah, monkey.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a monkey. Better man. Yeah.
Which, I mean, look, at least they're taking the lesson of if you're going to do a biopic, you have to do something different other than the same tropes over and over and over and over. But I feel like this is too far in the wrong direction.
Mm.
Look,
Anyway,
I'm just
this
saying
movie.
That Walk Hard 2 is going to have to be Duplex. Duplex Duplo.
Mm.
Anyway, Johnson famously, crazily said, I watched Oppenheimer. It was amazing. But I was thinking, holy shit, Red 1 on this screen and with this technology could be game over. I remember texting director, Jake Kasdan, a picture of my bare chest and a picture of the screen, and we realized how cool IMAX would be.
He's an insane person.
I love that. That's how he pitches any idea. Just takes a photo of his bare chest. and
It's
be like,
worked in the
"Imagine
past.
this. Imagine this, but on an IMAX screen."
That's the equivalent of a light bulb above his head.
His just shirt pops open. He's like, "Oh,
What if this?
Fucking madman.
But
Oh god.
like, to compare yourself to Oppenheimer, to compare
I know.
like, this is like, it does feel like in this movie that the most of the actors are aware of the movie they're making, you know.
yeah."
How The Rock
Yeah.
lacks that awareness and delays
No.
production so it can go on IMAX because he thinks it's comparable to Oppenheimer.
I know. To watch Oppenheimer and think, yeah, that movie I'm making with the big talking snow
Yeah,
fucking polar
with,
bear.
with jacked Santa. Yeah, this is gonna look
Yeah.
great.
You and me, Chris, we're just trying to make the magic happen, you know?
Good lord.
Well, speaking of this dangerously insane man, according to an article by Umberto Gonzalez for The Wrap, Johnson was in the habit of arriving on set up to 8 hours late and would miss days of shooting. He would also piss into bottles on set, upsetting members of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
This led to the budget ballooning from $50 million to $250 million. I'm not sure how the piss played into that, but it did.
I'm sorry, from 50 to 250. Good.
Yup.
God.
But surely they made that back in the box office.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did. We'll get there. Well, I mean, maybe if the critics are nice about it, then maybe it'll make that money back. Critics reacted to the film like a crowded mall 2 days before Christmas. Only, if the malls were actually crowded, except for visibly empty. Bill Goody Kuntz over at Arizona Republic
That is
said,
fun.
"That's fun." But what Red One is really missing, what every Christmas movie worth its eggnog requires, is summed up in one word: magic.
Mm.
No one knows Christmas magic like Bill Goody Kuntz.
I mean, look, if that's not a Christmas elf name, I may.
Yeah.
It's two elves in a jacket. Look into this man.
I was worried saying his name. I thought he might appear or hear us all of a sudden. Yeah.
Just a gift appears behind you.
Aww, that's adorable.
That's the goody good
You
stuff.
can't. It only works once a year.
Use it wisely.
The public felt there actually wasn't a worse way to go out than trying to save Santa Claus. Meta Sabine Fonderson over on Google said, and don't get fooled by the 5-star reviews you'll notice on here. Very interesting fact, max 2 sentences each and nothing original in the reviews. I bet the $250 million budget went into buying 5-star reviews. I mean, look, I'll do it for $1 million. I'll do it for one. What do you need? Like, you need me to set up like 200 Gmails and review this thing? I'll do that for $1 million.
Yeah, look, whatever you're paying in the piss bottle budget, I'll take that, I'll take piss bottle money.
I'll take payment in piss, goddammit.
Put that piss on eBay.
Put a Terramana label on it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you flooded the market. Oh.
Oh, pun intended.
Oh, Jesus. Rock Johnson is a 3-man, thanks to Baywatch and Black Adam. J.K. Simmons, meanwhile, is a 5-man after The Snowman, Postal, Jennifer's Body. Yes, I think I remember that. And Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh, wow.
Oh, free to a man, free in the bush, free, yo. Films are shit, mate.
Look, it's nice that he gets work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a pleasant man.
Oh,
like
I just
seeing him
remembered
do
his
well.
role in Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think he comes alive and then immediately gets murdered.
Oh no, he does. Yeah.
He plays like the
He's
ghost
he's
of
the
the
he's
skeleton.
the decrepit body they
Yeah.
find, and it was on screen long enough for me to go, "Is that J.K. Simmons?" And then he's dead. I was like, "Oh."
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just like, oh, that was weird and distracting.
yeah. But also, like, doesn't
Well-
feel like part of the joke. Like, you know how what was it in not Jonathan, Hot Fuzz, where apparently Kate Blanchett is like all in hazmat.
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I think the studio wanted her in there, or they just got her there as a joke, and it's like,
Yeah.
if you know it's funny, but it's not really part of it. Whereas, yeah, that in Afterlife is like, oh, is that? Oh, okay, doesn't matter.
Never mind. Well, speaking of weird and distracting, Red One has 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, 34% on Metacritic, and made $150 million on a $250 million budget.
Does not cover the
Would-
piss bottles.
Would have turned a tidy profit on the original budget.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was right. It really was game over. So, Elliot and BT, you dogs named ribbons. What's one thing about Red One that made you tell right away that out of everyone here, you'd like this the least? By which, of course, I mean, how come we're talking about this?
Oh, it was on.
Yeah.
Fair.
No.
How did you watch it? Is it on streaming now? Or?
No, so yeah, it was the kind of thing where we decided to do this, but we were originally talking about, recording on the 7th. I'm like, okay, what films are coming out?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Paul, you pitched a bunch of ideas, and I'm like, those are all coming out on the 9th.
Fuck.
So I was like, well, okay, what's currently in cinemas, and kind of going through that, or like big on streaming, and this was on, and I was like, okay, but then we kind of realized, it's going to leave cinemas pretty soon. So both Elliot and I had to jump on it about 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Because it'll get picked up by streaming to try to cover its losses, but we don't know when that's going to happen. So I was like, okay, both of us rushed out and saw it ASAP, and I'm gonna have to try and remember it now.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation because I saw this before I knew we were going to be covering it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, quick things might be very quick this time.
Yeah, and I don't know, what attracted me to this as one of the possibilities as well is just that, I don't know, any movie that gets so raked over the coals is just going to get me curious and interested. Like, earlier in the year, Borderlands was just absolutely getting grilled. And I went and saw that, and I was almost a bit disappointed that it wasn't more of a train wreck. Like, I think its worst sin is that it was just very cliche action movie. And I actually came away from this one with a very similar feeling in that, like, I don't think it's necessarily awful, but I do think that, like, from what few good original ideas it has, like, it does squander it with a bunch of cliche stuff and, like, a few baffling choices, like Rock's powers being, like, yeah, essentially Ant-Man, but he can only shrink down to being a 3-foot tall person.
Yep, you're not making the Rock any smaller than that. He
No.
refuses.
Good Lord, no.
I love that also because it's just like, oh no, it's funny because I'm little. Generally, I'm a big guy, but it'll be funny because I won't be.
But then it'll be on
People
IMAX,
crack
so
up
I'll
at
be
that.
big again.
That's the joke.
That's the condition. That is the joke. Yeah, no, that's devastating to hear about Borderlands because I'm due to be covering it in the new year with Bex Watson, who is a massive Borderlands game fan.
Right.
And so is particularly, I think, irked by the film. I'm not a big Borderlands game fan, so I imagine I'm going to probably find it to be the same, just fairly bland as action movies go. But it is directed by Eli Roth, so I have high hopes.
Well, I mean, similar. I've watched a grand total of half an hour of Borderlands, out of curiosity, and immediately it's very obvious they've cut a lot of the gun violence, and
Wow.
it's like you can tell very, very quickly that they've done that. So that immediately hamstrings the film. But it's also like, why did you hire Eli Roth then?
Yeah.
Of all directors.
I mean, that's true of most projects that Eli Roth is involved in. Just why did you hire Eli Roth?
Yeah. But I mean, he's synonymous with violence. Seems
guess
like
so.
maybe you don't put him.
Yeah, fun, family-friendly film Hostel, you know.
You know, we're gonna get
that's why.
Quentin Tarantino to direct this PG film.
It'll happen. It'll happen when we finally get his Star Trek. Anywho, how does this stupid movie start? I can't remember how it opens.
We start with a flashback to young, Chris Evans, but I wrote down his
Right.
name for this as being Crook Evans. Gonna
Hey.
play that.
No, that's good. I like it.
And he's found all the presents hidden in the closet and is all like, this is proof Santa isn't real, fellow kids.
Yeah.
And then
And one of the other kids is just like, you don't have a fucking dad.
he's like, that's gonna come relative later, maybe, and then kind of doesn't.
It's such a crazy burn. He's just like, how could you find the presents? You can't even find your dad.
And then he's like, I'm great at finding people. And this is definitely going to be the thing I do when I grow up,
Yeah.
is finding things.
Oh, shit. I didn't even fucking put that together.
Yeah, and then the husband from Brooklyn Nine-Nine walks in and is all like, you don't understand, one day you'll grow up and be less of a shit. Turns out he was wrong. He grew up to be exactly the same shit.
Yeah. Oh, shit, though. He's such a bad guy in a PG kind of way.
Yeah, he
You know.
steals candy from a baby.
He
That's how
literally
we
steals
know.
candy from a baby. And this is definitely a PG film. Oh, wait, what's this? A cut-off use of what the actual fur, 8 uses of shit, 2 uses of asshole,
yeah.
1 use of dickhead, 3 dams, 8 hells, an imbecile, and 1 whispered use of goddammit. Okay.
Yeah, a lot
What
of
did this
swears.
movie was for?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big note in this one. I do not know who this movie is for.
What's... well, look, the kids are going to love the bikini-clad chicks who show up about an hour into this fucking thing.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I believe...
Sorry, I can tell you, because I went to see this in cinema with humans. So there were some kids in the audience, and the biggest laugh the kids got is a scene where Chris Evans wakes up in a bathtub. They thought that was hilarious. I was like, all right, so that was
Aww.
yeah, like kid, that's adorable. I'll tell you about the time I've done that. Used
Yeah,
to be my thing. I go to
honestly,
parties, sleep in the bathtub.
I'm curious about what percentage of these kids are gonna do that at some stage in the years that lie ahead. You're gonna wake up in bathtubs now and then. Now, very early on, I think we get a tamer ripoff of the Krampus opening credit sequence where you just see like mall people being crazy and Dwayne the Rock Johnson looking disapproving because it's his job to escort the actual Santa around cheap malls around the world, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where we get this kind of interesting version of the whole North Pole Santa thing, where it's this almost paramilitary, very organized organization.
Yes, he's part of the Enforcement Logistics and Fortification Division, or ELF.
Yeah.
Couldn't get Christmas in there, huh, guys?
Which is weird because there are also little critters running around that look like elves. Anyway, sorry, Elliot, I cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like... I don't mind this as a premise for like for doing like an original Christmas story that this is the take of how this story can possibly work in the real world, but like also knowing that it's like an Amazon Prime fucking venture is just like this particular
that's
version of
insane.
Santa as a jacked CEO was that a note from Bezos? Is this
Oh, hey, come on. This movie is conformist as shit. Millionaires are our friends. Government agencies are going to help them out and work together to make sure that all the kids have a great capitalist Christmas. Don't worry about it. Quick note on the elf thing, though. Cobras exist, but there's also Cobra meetings. So... elf and elves. It's fine. To be fair, though, that would be more conspicuous if the Cobra meetings happened exclusively in a snake-themed like country. That might be a bit more of an issue. Nevertheless, Anyway, Rock Johnson wants to retire after this one last job because he's at the beginning of a movie.
Classic.
And at this stage, a fucking strike team break into the North Pole and kidnap Santa.
Yep.
And look,
Yeah.
a fairly decent chase sequence does follow. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
respect. He actually does catch up to the fleeing vehicle, and oh no, it's empty. It was a drone. They were actually getting away on that rocket sled, or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that was. So they And they get through the force field that surrounds the North Pole.
So, which Chris Evans helped them get into because he can find anyone. So he found like a electrical disturbance in the force and reported it to whoever, and that's how they found where the North Pole was.
He's
Shockingly in the North Pole.
He's that amazing. He's a master hacker. He's an alcoholic, and he's very good looking. Like,
and he can sleep in bathtubs.
yeah. Rarely can you hit the quadrant like that, but yeah.
Yep.
You can emerge from bathtubs with absolutely perfect hair, and that's what I respect most about him.
It's true.
So that they call up Lucy Liu and ask her to be in the movie for a bit, and she agrees under duress.
Yep.
It's one of these filmed scenes as well where, like, they're doing a video chat in a movie, and it's just a particularly cold delivery of Lucy Liu barreling down the camera, delivering her lines. Like, it did feel very much of this, modern superhero action movie sort of just entirely green screen thing where, like, it did feel like the actors had nothing to bounce against and, came off as cold as a result.
You'd think with all of us having more familiarity with that sort of thing, you could work in more sort of in-jokes about it, like where they keep going to say something at the same time and then both back off.
Yep. But, I'm sorry, you go.
What? I
Okay.
think you might be on mute. You're not on mute. You just have nothing to say. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a very serious movie about saving Christmas.
Exactly. So that's why they go kidnap Chris Evans, who is I guess a Santa skeptic. He doesn't believe in Santa. So they kidnap him and bring him to the North Pole and tell him that he's on the naughty list.
Yep. He's a tier 4 or whatever, or level 4
fuck me.
naughty lister. Never find out what that means exactly. Is 1 the worst? Is like how high does this scale go?
That's true. Fuck me.
Didn't cover that in the Christmas carols. It was always a binary system. If you're naughty,
Yeah,
you're
exactly. Can I afford to be on tier 1? Is that okay? I don't mind if I get off-brand presents.
That's a subscription. So.
Sometimes I just don't want to tap in when I get onto the TFL network. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
So they hire him basically to help them track down Santa, who's so they can try and figure out where he is. Which he agrees to do. I can't. Yeah, just for money, right?
Yeah, they offer him money, double what the guy who helped him, who paid him to find Santa in the first place, offered, and also not getting crushed by a polar bear. That really sweetened the deal.
Yeah. Speaking of which, who's this polar bear guy? Is he going to be in the movie? No.
Yeah, he's in the background of one scene. So, I was really hoping we'd see that polar bear fight or something. That looks cool.
He was very prominent in the fucking poster. Are you sure
He
you don't want
indeed
to bring
was.
him along on the team and have him kind of try and blend in? No.
No. Do you want to give him a personality or any sort of standout characteristics? No.
Funny voice? No. Oh, right. All right, then. Good stuff. Well done, everyone. That is a scene complete, and maybe Dwayne will join us tomorrow. So, they do that, and then at that stage, they go to the toy shop and pick up some stuff, tools that he's going to use. And I don't know how many of these are Chekhov's toys.
A lot of
actually
them
get used.
We got to the end because the first thing he grabs is like a Monopoly set. I'm like, okay, well that's gonna be interesting. So are you gonna make a hotel out of nowhere? Are you gonna get the car to drive? Are you just gonna have a nice top hat? I'm kind of keen to see these, and that never uses it. So the only things he uses is the Hot Wheels car and the Rock'em Sock'em robots available through Amazon.com.
Love that. Thank you. It's kind of traitorous to Bezos to show a high street store open with people in it. Although there are very few people in it, so maybe that's it. They're all at home. Using Amazon like real patriots. Help him get to the moon, folks.
It's what he wants for Christmas. We can deny him what he wants for Christmas. You heartless bastard.
Guys. He just wants to deconstruct another bridge so he can get his stupid yacht out of the harbour.
Just send Bezos to the moon. He'll love it.
So they go off and meet with Nick Kroll, who is hanging out in the Bahamas, reminiscing about the point when he appeared to be an edgy and kind of cool comedy figure. Gone are the days. He's the guy that Chris Evans sold the information about where to find Santa to.
And they need to know who his boss is.
Yeah.
And who are these sexy ladies hanging on each arm? Who are surprisingly disconnected from the fist fight that just happened.
Well, you know what? Thinking that, remembering that this is the screenwriter of the fucking Fast and Furious movies, does he just write butt shots, like butt-level shots of bikini-clad women into his screenplays.
I feel like yes, because when we first arrive here, Chris Evans does like a, look back on a girl in a bikini as she walks by. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's establishing a thing about his character. But then there were just further butt shots, and it's like, who is this for? Is this for the dads in the audience going,
All right, so for this Christmas movie, we're going to want to set at least part of it in Aruba. Yes, for this Christmas movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't figure out how to get butt shots into a snowy Arctic scene. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry, Dwayne.
You're going to figure it out, or I am walking. It's like, you were already 7 hours late. I will walk again.
What are you doing with that bottle? No! So, it turns out the kidnapper is, fucking what's her name from Longlegs. I just had her name and I've forgotten it already. Kiernan Shipka.
Yep. Grilla the Christmas witch.
Right.
Yep.
You're the Christmas witch.
Oh yeah. Don't worry. I'm
stupid.
I'm locked and loaded when it comes to Greylock.
I am in the fucking wiki.
Don't...
I know the lore.
Oh yeah. You jest. I do.
So she starts off a fight with like some snowmen. I can't remember how it manifests now.
It doesn't make sense, but it does look cool. Where basically Nick Kroll isn't going to say her name because saying her name draws her attention, so he writes it in the sand, and Chris Evans just says it out loud. Kind of funny that he also didn't mispronounce it because it is an Icelandic word and very easy to get wrong. And it kind of would have been funny if that's how they avoided her detection by constantly getting it wrong. But then she hears, so then she summons an ice cream truck comes out of the sea, and a bunch of snowmen get out the back.
Yeah.
They're also jacked. Everyone must remember, everyone in this movie is just buff as hell.
Yep.
These are all cameos from Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Entourage. These are all previous screenwriters of other projects he's been in.
Yeah, like I don't know if we mentioned it, that polar bear, jacked.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Fuck yeah, he's so hot.
I did actually notice one of Nick Kroll's henchmen actually bared a passing resemblance to Vin Diesel, and I was like, I wonder if this felt like The Rock letting out some frustrations here.
Yeah, they cut the scene where he's like, I beat him so easily, I'm just so much better than him in every conceivable way.
He was actually a member of Vin Diesel's entourage that he managed to abduct and sort of integrate into his group, and now he just beats the living shit out of him in all of his movies. It's brutal. Brutal politics between these two men. I want no part of it, and yet it will be global politics one day.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho. So, God, what the fuck happens after they defeat the snowmen? Which, how do they do again? They figure out, I can't remember.
The carrots is the source of power.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, you got to get rid of the carrots.
Yeah, and there's an example of like a funny in concept moment that doesn't quite land, where like Chris Evans' character goes through this, whole thing of like he shoves the snowman's face on a grill and burns it down, but that doesn't do it, and so he like eventually lets a propane tank go and explodes, and he gets thrown into the pool. He has to go through all this chaos, and in the end, all he had to do was yank the carrot out.
Yeah,
but it doesn't quite land. Like it feels like that was the joke. But then it just doesn't quite get there. I don't know. Other people's experiences might be different, but I felt like I see what you're doing, but you didn't get it.
Do you know what? We haven't covered the fact that throughout all of this, Chris Evans has a kid.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he has a kid that he is letting down because he's a father in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Father in a Christmas movie who needs to learn a lesson about being a better dad.
Yeah.
And also, how does he not know Santa's real when, at least for some of that kid's life, he must have been seeing presents appear from nowhere?
Well, he was such a very absent father as well, as we find out. And
maybe everyone just takes it for granted. If you lived in a world of genuine Santa, you would just know that presents appear on Christmas Eve. But you'd be like, that's not Santa. That's just, how things fucking work. It'd be like, what? Are you like an ancient Egyptian who thinks that the sun is, a god riding a chariot across the sky? No, it's a solar thing. Well, the same with the presents that appear every year.
It just happens.
It's just a thing.
It's like
Jesus.
gravity. It's probably dark matter or something.
I don't claim to understand it. I just criticize heavily people who have different interpretations of it. So, what happens between here and Krampus?
Do they just immediately go to Krampus from this point? I can't remember.
I feel like there's something, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is. So I think we're heading to Krampus's castle.
Maybe there's a scene of sun disappointment. I don't remember.
Maybe he ends up on the phone because he's due to go to his concert, but he didn't make it. So he's just going to have to disappoint him.
Yep.
And then he'll have to get kidnapped for the finale. I think, we do get a demonstration of how the evil witch's plan is going to work, which I think they're snow globes, I think.
Yeah. So,
or are they Jack in the Boxes?
No, they're snow globes. So, just to retread, because I did have a moment of, hey, wait a second. They kidnapped Santa to sap part of his power so they can fire up this old machine that's at Santa's workshop that replicates objects, so they can replicate this snow globe that can trap one person into it. And their plan is to send out like 6 billion of them, because that's how many people on the planet, or something like that. We'll say 3 billion. We'll say half the planet is on the naughty list or something. Yeah. And sitting there watching them, I'm like, first of all, where are you going to store all these? Because the shelf you have can fit 50, maybe, on a stretch. You are talking about billions, which you only ever see like a couple of hundred getting made. And then big plot reveal twist is, wait, where could they possibly be? The only place that machine would work is under Santa's workshop. It's like they never left. The decoy was a decoy for a decoy. Which again is like, surely you would have it would fill up so quickly. You'd be so easy to find. It's like there are thousands upon millions and millions of snow globes just in the basement. And I have questions about this Christmas witch's plan in this Christmas movie.
There's only one person on this planet who could have the warehouse space to manage that much of an abundance of goods, and he doesn't work for the bad guys. He's a good guy, and you should all keep giving him
what kind
money.
of bald superhero could do that?
Oh Christ! Well, speaking of wonderful, wonderful figures that you shouldn't question, they head out to Krampus's castle because Krampus is Santa's brother,
like adopted brother, I think.
Right. Okay. And then, but also used to go out with Shipka.
Grilla.
Yeah.
Grilla, the Christmas witch.
Grilla, the Christmas witch. Such an easy name to remember.
Did we go over these? These are like pre-existing characters, Grilla and Krampus, by the way. I knew about Krampus, but I didn't know about Grilla.
Is she traditionally part? She is part of the Christmas canon.
Yes, everyone gather round by the Yuletide log while I regale you with stories of Grilla, the Christmas witch. So basically, she is an Icelandic folklore who is also heavily tied in, first of all, with her, it varies number between 9 and 13, usually, of how many sons she has.
Okay.
Where in this movie, they're just generic henchmen, which is such a disappointment because her sons, the Yule lads, have names like Spoon Licker, Pot Scraper, Bowl Licker, Door Slammer, Sausage Swiper, Window Peeper, and Stubby. So you could have had these ridiculously themed henchmen running around, but the number one, my most disappointment from this is the second they said Grayla, I'm like, are we gonna get the Yule cat? Because Grayla also has a gigantic cat who will eat you if you don't wear clean clothes on Christmas Eve.
Okay, this fucking screenwriter is a hack.
And the second they did it, I leaned over to my girlfriend like, we might get the Yule cat.
That's... Why isn't that in your final climactic battle of this movie? Oh.
I know. And just especially right at the end when the big hand comes up after Grayla gets knocked off, I'm like, Yule cat. Nope. It's a bad CGI gremlin.
I mean, I've got to say, would have been an amazing reveal considering they haven't done any setting up of the Yule cat before then.
Oh,
someone just says the Yule cat.
If they had a Yule cat in it, that gets them an extra 100 million at the box office. I guarantee you.
Yeah, giant.
Not to mention plushies.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everyone being like, "Well, you better get new clothes for Christmas, otherwise you'll get eaten by a giant Icelandic cat."
Oh.
Kids showing up with filthy clothes. I want to see the cat.
Hell yeah.
Give me the cat.
The cat wants to see you. Don't worry. Hum, num, num.
They have an aborted stealth sequence into the castle, which leads to them getting captured.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, they have...
Just to hijack you again for a second, is MVP of this movie, Alan the Chicken.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Alan yes.
Because Dwayne The Rock Johnson holds up a keychain that's got a little chicken on it, and he zaps it with his Make Alive thingy, but then he refers to it by a name. It's like, Alan, we need you to distract them. And then the chicken distracts these, like, goblin guards, these kind of goblin dog guards that are out there. And I'm like, first of all, his name is Alan. Second of all... I want to know his entire story, please. What this movie could have been Alan the Christmas Chicken fighting the Yule Cat. You need to appreciate what they took from us.
The hole in the Christmas canon.
The hole in my
insurmountable.
heart.
Oh, they've ruined
know.
Christmas.
God. Anywho.
Anywho.
So yeah, they get in and they find Krampus playing his favorite game of kicking people, of hitting people, punching people.
Slap fight, yeah.
One by one, a slap fight. And a lengthy sequence then occurs in which they try to convince him to come to Santa's aid, which ends up culminating in a game of slap fight, which I think they eventually cheat at and therefore get away. Is anything gained? Do they come away with something they didn't have before?
They know Krampus isn't involved. They went there originally because they think maybe that's where Grayla went.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But then find out, no, he doesn't really seem to have any... Oh, certainly she was there, and she was there to get the snow globe from him, because it was a gift she originally gave him when they were, smooching. So that's why she was there, and and then what could we possibly need that for? And so.
Yeah, and then at this stage they end up trying to drive back and find the snow globe that they have delivered to both Chris Evans and his son.
Mm-hmm.
And both get captured and taken to Grela's sort of creepy, evil lair beneath the workshop.
Without enough shelf space.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Into the inexplicable.
It's okay, because we
workshop.
discovered that all you need to do to get out of that snow globe is just be sorry that you're in it and apologize for the things you've done. And you escape immediately.
God, if that's the case, then isn't the system kind of perfect?
Oh.
Isn't it like a beautiful, self-functioning prison that opens as soon as somebody changes their heart?
Yeah.
Look, Grayla had some good ideas. Like,
Look, maybe she didn't go about it the right way.
But damn it, she's trying.
She's trying, damn it. She has a vision for the future. So, yeah, at this stage, I can't remember how, but The Rock finds out that where the base is and goes down there in order to have a climax.
I remember, because it's a very kind of disappointing scene. He gets on the phone with Mrs. Claus and is all like, how you holding up? And she's like, I'm just baking cookies, macaroons, his favorite. And he hangs up, he's like, macaroons aren't his favorite, he hates macaroons. It's like,
oh, fuck.
the thing is, like, he didn't draw that out of her. Like, it's, so that's how he knows that's a shape-shifting Yule lad. And therefore that they're actually, the North Pole is compromised. But instead of being like, how you holding up? I'm just baking. You're making his favorite macaroons, and she's like, yeah. And that's the kind of, it's that bit
Sure.
in Terminator. It's like,
yeah,
how's Wolfie doing? Your foster parents are dead. It's literally that, but without the intelligence.
Yeah, Rock doesn't get to tell anyone that Mrs. Claus is dead. pan to her having impaled the real
damn.
Mrs. Claus on her
Fucking plot twist.
Oh, God. So, yes, they go back there. There's a fight. There's just a fight, and then the movie ends, I think.
yeah.
I think we've covered what the evil scheme was. She gets kicked off a bridge at one point and then becomes out big.
Yep.
Krampus shows up and helps. And they win.
Yeah. This is where I want to say I think the majority of the action scenes in this movie looks like utter garbage, and
Sure.
I do not know, like, I'm almost curious to see it on IMAX to see how they scaled this thing, because
Jesus.
a lot of these scenes were just so like foggy and blurry around the edges of things, and they just
that
and, like,
Krampus fight scene as well, like where the big brawl breaks out, really blurry and just hard to see what the hell's going on. Sorry.
yeah.
Well,
And it's just, like, especially for something that's meant to be, like, an action movie with a big budget behind it, it's just, I don't know where it went. And, like, the color palette of this movie is just generally very drab and, like, very, like, steeped in grays. And, like, that's really what I hated about these action sequences is, like, it's got the Marvel problem of, like, too many close-ups, too many cuts, but then also just the stuff in between is just, like, blurry and just gross looking.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And my viewing experience was far from optimal because I went and saw it with my friend Katie at her suggestion in 4DX.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if this... It sounds like this technology's made it out there.
We're aware of it.
I haven't been to one of these things, like, outside, like, a theme park, but, like, not to see an actual movie. These are usually, like,
Right.
15-minute
Well, I didn't
experiences.
go see an actual movie either. I saw Red One.
Zing!
But yeah, it was very stupid.
So what happened?
And was a welcome It was a welcome, it's a welcome distraction, having the constant. I think one of the things that Katie said was the last time she had gone and seen something in 4DX was Ad Astra, bizarrely, was in 4DX. And she was like, well, I haven't actually seen the snow feature, therefore, so I guess this will be going off. And I thought, I mean, in theory, a substantial part of the movie could be making use of the snow feature, so it will be interesting to see that. But no, it was very silly. The only sequence that was really enhanced by it will be my one solid quick thing, so I'm not going to blow it here. We'll get to that. But in any case, yes, this fight ends. Santa and his brother have a moment before he goes off again. The Christmas witch is inside one of her own snow globes now and will be locked away forever until she becomes kind, I guess. But by whose metric? Hers?
Mm-hmm.
She was just trying to help. It should break immediately.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah. And then he bonds with his son. I think they both go on the Christmas sleigh ride thing in order to see some presents get delivered. At this stage, my ability to separate this from Arthur Christmas in my head truly deteriorates.
Yeah, and look, to be fair, I feel like that delivering presents sequence at the end is actually pretty good in the sense that kind of shrinking down technology, Santa uses that to get into various buildings. There's a lot of kind of, you get the sense of organization behind it. There's ultimately this weird sense, because everything has this kind of almost militaristic vibe to it. And really, the military and organization is the opposite of, like, magic and whimsy.
Quiet.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take, but it also doesn't fill you with warm heart.
Well, it also,
No,
like the explanation for the powers, like, why the rock shrinks down, that is only explained in this scene at the very end where they use that technology so Santa can shrink down into any chimney. And I'm like, that is actually a clever explanation, but like the problem is when it's introduced earlier in the film, it's given without that context, and Rock just shrinks down and then does, again, to bring up your point, Paul, just Ant-Man shit. And it's just like, why does he do this? And then it's not as satisfying to later they go, oh, okay. I feel like that should have been introduced a lot earlier, just as a concept.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're talking about how they have to run drills and stuff, and it could have been running a drill, and that gives you a sense of how this works.
Yeah. But honestly, they really are just ripping off Arthur Christmas, which uses that contrast between quaint Christmas sort of isms and the hard military precision of a kind of, Black Ops operation to great comedic effect. Here, it's more just sort of... It feels weirdly jingoistic for an aspect of American culture that is a bizarre thing to take pride in. And of course, this is a South Park episode in which Santa takes on Osama bin Laden and the Middle East.
Red Sleigh down.
And Red Sleigh, exactly. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's not quite the stunningly original idea that perhaps Dwayne The Rock Johnson's bodyguard / whoever the hell it was who came up with the idea for all of this thought it was. Nevertheless, he regains his Christmas joy. Dwayne The Rock Johnson isn't going to retire, and that's the end of things.
Yep.
Good Lord. So, we've been covering it as we go, but what did we think in general of Red One?
Yeah, it's fine. It's a bit generic, and I've seen worse movies. I've seen worse Christmas movies. So.
Very, very true.
Yeah, I think it's, I said it before, I think it looks like shit. It's just, a few of the actors know what movie they're making, and that's fine, but also, if I'm chucking on a Christmas movie, because, I think they're trying to make it PG enough that you could technically watch it with kids, but I don't know just by the look of this what kid wants to watch it, because it's lacking.
Because I was tracking a little bit to get into the actual story. It's 45 minutes of runtime.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time for a
Christ.
kids movie.
But and you're talking about the fun and whimsy of a Christmas movie, and the whole paramilitaristic vibe just doesn't gel with me on that, and it just makes it look a bit too I don't know, bad. It doesn't I think yes, it put it well before, Paul, it's just missing the fun and magic. It's making it look like a militaristic procedure. It's just that's not fun.
No, because they don't make it funny.
And there's that too.
Because if you're gonna have that juxtaposition, then it has to be funny. I think I was disappointed in it simply in as much as it just wasn't more annoying. It reminds me of Aquaman 2, because I remember going to see Aquaman 2 thinking, well, this will be a pretty safe bet as either being a bit of fun, because that came out just before Christmas, whatever year that came out. I thought this will either be a bit of fun or something I can get annoyed at. And it just was nothing. It was nothing at all. And this is a similar premise of just two guys on a journey, neither of whom are, have any character in spite of the endless sort of joshing and vamping. And nothing's learned and nothing's very interesting.
Yeah, nothing's really leaning into the campy aspects or the silliness enough to be fun. It's this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the dynamic between the two leads is there's nothing, like, they don't feel distinct really as characters. Like, and even like Chris Evans, his like New Yorkie accent that he's doing is so in and out. Like, and The Rock is he like reminds me of a Rock. He's just like so lacking in personality and anything for this. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a little chat about that, because I remember, what did I go see? I think I saw Black Adam, and I was telling Katie about how much I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, wow, even The Rock isn't enough to save it? And I just thought, what do you mean? Even The Rock? Like, I don't rate him very highly as... And you can't... Actor, fine. Throw out actor. That's not happening. Fine. Movie star.
Yeah, personality. Yeah.
Personality. I've never found him to have that much charisma. He's just big.
Well, I heard someone once say that The Rock is very good at making even the silliest premise seem plausible, which in his earlier stuff I would give him, but lately, that I think like that veil has shifted because you hear too many stories about how much of a dick he is on set, or he demands he refuses to play a villain, so rewrite all of Black Adam till it doesn't make sense anymore.
That's it. I remember watching Baywatch and Rampage in quick succession, and the characters being interchangeable, and the whole thing of it, I always feel like Arnie would often have a self-deprecating kind of nature to him. He never played just the coolest fucking guy. Hey, this guy's great, and you introduce a nerd character who tries his best, but he's just not as good as The Rock because he's so fucking cool, and it's funny because of how wimpy this nerd is.
Yeah.
And it's really not endearing to me.
Well... Yeah, I think, in terms of The Rock's charisma, this is where I can use my expertise on the thing.
Yes.
Like, because I'm assuming most of your listeners aren't big wrestling fans, so...
hey, we get some.
Yeah?
Sean's been on a bunch of times.
Oh, true.
He's dragged a few in.
Oh, yeah, he made you watch Ready to Rumble, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I was actually jealous I wasn't on that episode. That is a fucking fantastic train wreck of a movie, that is.
I'm pretty sure he's coming back soon with Santa with muscles.
'Tis the season.
And 'tis the season to talk about how problematic Hulk Hogan is now.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least The Rock hasn't gotten down that far, but yeah, if we're in 8-hour shooting delays and pissing in bottles, like, how far off could we actually be?
If we are in the vicinity of ballooning the budget from 50 million to 200,
I think it was 150, but still, yeah, an extra 100 million is like, that's a lot of money.
It was 50 to 250. I'm afraid.
Oh, it was 50.
God.
Oh, sorry.
This movie would have been profitable if The Rock had behaved.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, like, because... Yeah, for those that don't know, like, The Rock in the late 90s, early aughts was just one of the most undeniable stars of wrestling in the WWF, now WWE.
And the Scorpion King.
And the Scorpion King.
Like, and the Scorpion fucking King.
But no, at the time, we were all like, oh, you're making your first foray into cinema as the Scorpion King, and it's getting a DVD release. Okay, it's like, this career looks like it's stalling before it started, but then he kept...
Yeah, right?
He kept plugging at it. He kept doing these, like, C-grade action movies, and then, like, built up the repertoire, and
the Tooth Fairy.
And the Tooth One of my favorite jokes in Futurama, actually. It's just like Dwayne The Rock, the Tooth Fairy Johnson. Yeah. But, like, I think through that, and, like, he worked the crowd, and, like, a lot of people were on his side, and, I think it just got to this thing where he, like, believed his own hype, where, yeah, you get to the Black Adam situation of it all, where now all of a sudden he thought he and this character were too good for Shazam and Zachary Levi. And just for, like, his recent foray into wrestling, because it's not just the film public and film fans that he's kind of starting to put offside. It's wrestling fans too.
Oh. I think he's borderline. I think he's borderline on a few things because I've seen he came out recently and weighed in on the I think it was the sing along with Wicked controversy or some similar cinema etiquette controversy, and he came out and said something about it, and somebody was just like, we need to stop asking this man questions. Like, why do we keep getting sound bites from him, and each one is just worse than the last in terms of his takes.
Yeah.
And looking through his filmography, I'm struggling to pinpoint the enduring classics. Like, arguably, potentially, the thing of his that will last the longest is his involvement in the Fast and Furious franchise, which is not something I think he's going to be terribly happy about.
Yeah,
But,
true.
like-
And also
Because
mired in a bit of controversy with how he acted behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, true, because otherwise what? Like, is Rampage, Skyscraper? Like, what's the movie that's going to cement him?
The Scorpion King. Come on.
Hey, I went and saw the Mummy double feature at a cinema in London a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, he got a reaction.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is he's got a big personality, and I feel like he's just immensely more famous than his movies are. So
Yeah.
his movies have massive opening box offices and do quite well most of the time. But then, in terms of legacy, I feel like there's every chance that people will just remember him. People who aren't into wrestling may just remember him as a figure reminiscent of Macho Man Randy Savage. Just, oh yeah, I think I know that guy.
Yeah, it's fair to say that, even if you've enjoyed his films previously, you enjoy them while watching them. They're not, enduring classics. Whereas at least something to compare into, say, Arnie's career, you could point out, Terminator's obviously Junior, Kindergarten Cop. There are things that at least you've seen before and have,
No, Arnie made very good decisions. Is the thing. Arnie
The thing in
kept picking
retrospect,
really good
it's interesting.
films.
And I feel like maybe Arnie just does the script. He doesn't try and change anything, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, he
And
said
he kept working with interesting people. He
Yeah.
got in with Paul Verhoeven, and fucking James Cameron, and as a result, managed to get his way into a bunch of things. But it seems to me like Dwayne The Rock Johnson doesn't get in with people who make good movies. He keeps surrounding and filling all of the roles in his movies with lackeys, people who are related to him and look like him.
Yeah, well, and it becomes this thing where, Black Adam and Red One are movies where you just go into it knowing the movie you're making, and you shut up, you hit your mark, you do your lines, and that he's thrown his weight around on these and expected them to be these cultural phenomenons worthy
there
of
a
massive
thing
praise.
with-
It doesn't make sense. Wasn't
there a thing with Black Adam that he was like, no, it's doing really well. What are you talking about? Everyone's faking the numbers. Or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. It's that mindset thing where they can't conceive of failure. It doesn't make sense to them. But there is something interesting on the horizon because he is due to appear in the next Benny Safdie film.
Oh, okay.
And which is going to be a biopic of Mark Kerr called The Smashing Machine. So
who's Mark Kerr? Sorry.
He's a mixed martial artist and wrestler. I'm reliably informed by this thing. What was he? He was Mark Kerr, former American wrestler and mixed martial artist. UFC tournament champion, World Valley Tudo Championship. I don't know how he wrestled. Freestyle wrestling. Oh, okay, Olympic wrestling. Okay, fine. All right, fine. So so he's gonna be doing this. Sorry, I just saw the word Pride and I just want to know why.
Pride FC is a fighting championship. They're like UFC except they have a four-sided ring.
Fair enough. So that's a thing that he's doing. Because, again, the comparisons of Adam Sandler do, for some reason, stick in my head. There's just an aura that feels similar.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Safdies did wonderful things with Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems. So, perhaps he's hoping that this will be that moment for him. And, maybe there's even an Oscar in it for him.
Sure. That's probably the next stage of his career is gunning for that Oscar.
Yeah, I guess so.
Good
because it's all
luck.
about... Good luck to you, sir. But... in the meantime, I don't think there's really... the reason we've been talking about Dwayne The Rock Johnson for the past 20 minutes is because there's really not much left to say about Red One. You're both right. It's fine in
Yeah.
some ways. I was disappointed not to have disliked it more.
Yeah, weirdly, I feel like the flip of what Dwayne is doing is what Chris Evans is doing. Because to him,
Oh, yeah.
this movie to him just feels like a paycheck. He's like, yeah, I'll be in it, and
Yeah.
I'll be fine, and that's fine. And he'll
He's
just go on and do
he's an
something
interesting one.
else. Yeah.
Because, you do feel like he's got the Marvel money. He never has to work again if he doesn't want to,
Mhm.
surely.
And so,
And when he made Knives Out, it felt like, okay,
yeah, getting
it'll be
some-
interesting
something
now.
a bit different, a bit more range, and he
Yeah,
feels like he's
but
kind of
then-
picking his projects a bit more, and it was just like, yeah, paycheck.
But also not afraid to be a
Well-
bit self-deprecating either. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fucking invaluable in a movie where Dwayne The Rock Johnson is not going to do that at all.
Yep.
Well, I think we're there on Red One, so how about we do our, for me, very meager number of quickfires, which is not necessarily an indictment of Red One, more just a fact of, it's been a while since I saw it, folks. Quickfire. Who can start?
I got a bunch, so I'm happy to go first.
Go for it.
The kind of opening launch sequence after Santa leaves the mall and he kind of, gets to the slave. First of all, the slave redesign almost has this like mobile command center, which is an interesting take. Again, I dig it a little bit, and then like the all the reindeer's antlers light up, and one part that kind of confuses me, he has a very Fuss Rodar shout whenever he's doing it. It's Cavalame.
Wow.
He just shouts, and we never really find out
Okay.
what that is. And I did try Googling to see if this was a reference to like a Christmas myth. Not that I could find, but it was a well shot, good looking sequence.
I thought you said Kalima then, and I was like, is he about to rip out someone's heart? What the fuck? Just-
Fuss
This is one
Rodar
reindeer
is
every trip.
Skyrim.
Yeah. But one thing I really did actually like about this bit, and again, there's ideas that I like that's going on here, but the idea that the reindeers were massive, I am surprised how much I enjoyed just that concept, because like when I found out reindeers were real, that's like one of the things that actually kind of ruined the magic of Christmas for me.
Oh, no!
And then just sort of seeing that, like, yeah, they are as they've been depicted in things. They're just reindeers, and how do they fly? I don't know. They just like wiggle their hooves a bit, like.
Yeah, I know.
But no, the idea that they're gigantic and like one of their legs is the size of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And that these big golden glowing horns, like that was like, okay, there's a bit of Christmas magic and a depiction of the reindeers that I am so behind. And that's my one good thing.
I like that. I also enjoy how tender The Rock was with those reindeer in a really
Yeah.
intimate way, which led to a few laughs, which I appreciated. Right, I'm going to have the one sequence where everything came together, the stupid format I was watching it in, the budget of this ridiculous movie, it all came together, and that was the chase scene, as alluded to, from in which he's chasing after what turned out to be decoys, but he's doing this big sort of chase. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of sort of, moving around, the chairs were going mad, and there's some ingenuity in there as well in terms of how he's pursuing the people and sort of integrating the Christmas aesthetic into the nature of the chase, which I thought was, relatively well thought out. So points for the chase. That was the one sort of good action beat, I think, of the thing.
Yeah.
There's this kind of it's a definite Chekhov's ribbon where we talk a lot about Phil from Ribbons and how he's obsessed and how they can't move him on, and like 4 different people discuss him, but then he never comes back. And I thought for sure when they're sneaking back into the North Pole and the kind of reveal of who can we trust, who can we not, they bump into Phil and they'd be like, oh, hey, Phil, we're thinking of transferring you out of Ribbons. He'd be like, oh, that's fine. And then they know he's an imposter or something.
Shit!
Yeah, it's really set up to never have anything happen with it, which is odd.
Yeah, again, just so many drop points. But it's just enough that it was a gag in that moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, again with the toy store, I wish there was so much more creativity with the things that they were making big, and then the whole line with like, oh, grab a car. You grabbed that one? And it's like, Dwayne, you want something done right, do it yourself. Like,
fucking explain. They're tiny, first of all, and you haven't explained what the things do.
Yeah, and I support Chris Evans' line of, who gets a normal Hot Wheels?
Yeah. Who's getting the station wagon Hot Wheels? Like, and give me some parameters. Get me a practical car.
some of the production design in this frustrates me a little. I'm frustrated by Dwayne The Rock Johnson's outfit because it's so clearly meant to be just another superhero garb that they've put festive colors in, and it just feels like it's had all the sort of campiness drained out of it. Compare this to Turbo Man, goddammit. We'll talk about that soon. But some of the production design I like a lot. The design of Krampus, which seems to have been realized mostly in practical effects, like with makeup jobs and just getting a big dude
and a bunch of just randoms around his scene as well look great.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun sequence, actually. The castle looks good. The sort of, the dialogue scene that then ensues is a bit tedious, but the actual sort of getting in there, the chicken chase, which then comes back a few times. There's a few things about the sneaking into Krampus's castle that I quite like.
Yeah, I didn't mind the ultimate slap fight battle as well. I thought that played out with some a good violent comedy, and Krampus was fun.
If I remember correctly, I wasn't entirely sure how they were going to cheat. How do they cheat in the end?
He gets the shrinky biggie bracelet back on him, and he gets stronger. I thought he was going to get bigger and then slap him, but he just gets stronger. So.
That's right. I remember being vaguely disappointed in that it was just I thought they were going to do something clever, but then he just gets the bracelet back because he's a thief. And it's like, okay.
And then they get the Rock'em Sock'em robots involved who break very easily.
Yeah, which I also vaguely remember the design of them being quite good. It's just big Rock'em Sock'em robots. I can't remember if there was practical stuff there, but
doubt it.
Yeah,
who knows?
Doubt it.
Yep. I thought because a lot of Chris Evans' job in this is to be like, what, X? We're doing X, and like a lot of reactionary stuff. So the big question when they kind of bring him into this, government organization that looks after mythical creatures is like, how do you sell him on the premise fast enough to kind of move the plot along? And that's when they have like the Headless Horseman, the Dalahan walk through, and I'm like, that would convince you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What's he got to do with Christmas? I'm sorry. Like
he's just a mythical figure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that's Lucy Liu's whole department is they deal with all mythical figures.
Right.
So
although now I say that in retrospect, it's disappointing we don't see any others. But
yeah, sure. Saving them for the sequels.
That's definitely going to happen.
Red 2.
Easter.
Actually, that was another thing. Apparently, a lot of people thought that this was somehow related or linked in with what is it? Red. God damn it! It's the most streamed thing on Netflix. I should know it.
Oh God.
Red Dawn, the 1980s movie where communists invade small town Idaho.
Is it Red Sparrow, the Jennifer Lawrence spy thing?
No.
Red Alert.
Red Notice, starring Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot, probably. Which is
It's one of those fake movies that appear on streaming services.
That's apparently the most streamed movie on Netflix.
Sure it
is. Outstreamed Don't Look Up.
Yeah. Well, Don't Look Up also looked very depressing.
That was all right.
Elliot, was that yours? Did you have one?
Oh, I'm out of notes. I'm just sort of.
Oh, okay.
I'm piping. I'm piping in when I think of them now.
Awesome. I got like
That's
6
fair.
more. I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to let you get to that. I'm basically just going to say that I did enjoy Kiernan Shipka as Grilla, the Christmas witch. I like her a lot. I think she's floating, unlike Dwayne The Rock Johnson, she's floating on a cloud of goodwill after her appearance in Long Legs. I don't remember her in Twisters. I'm reliably informed she's in there.
I don't know. I feel like she was not hamming it up anywhere near as much as she should be. But then again, I think that you can say that about the entire movie.
Well, speaking of that...
she is capable of ham, most certainly.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, like, Nick Kroll as well, where, like, similarly, I was like, all right, this is the way the movie gets some cheese, some ham, get a nice sandwich going. But they have this thing where, she possesses him and, like, starts speaking through him, and he does that Nick Kroll voice that is, like, 40% of his characters in Big Mouth. But it doesn't even do it for that long. It's still just Grilla talking through him, which they can't hear, so it doesn't really make sense in the context of the scene anyway. It's just, why get Nick Kroll here to do that and be possessed if you're just going to cut away from it constantly?
Mm-hmm. I know. It's very disappointing, Nick Kroll, because he always had this vibe, this slightly intimidating vibe of maybe he's a bit better than whatever he's doing. And in this, it was just like, oh, he's just become a goofy guy with a strange face who's going to show up in action movies.
Mm-hmm.
Meh.
Yep.
Shame that.
Yep.
But hey. I'm sure he can rest assured by the paycheck.
Yeah, all the paychecks from Big Mouth, also on Netflix. Let's see. The idea that all toy stores are connected is kind of interesting, but then there's a bit where, in order to transport from one to the other, you have to open their warehouse door with a key. But the key is literally just a normal key, and it takes a while for the Rock to find it as well. He's just kind of going through a keychain. It's like, it seemed like an opportunity again for some bit of magic to bring out like an old school keychain, but there's no lock like that until you start to bring it to the door. Then the old style lock just appears out of nowhere or something. Just magic. It's supposed to be a thing.
But yeah, then he doesn't close the portal door behind them, so anyone just wandering in this toy store could just
go on the other side of the world now.
Step through the gooey door and
yeah. I think we're both out, so I think you can just go for it.
I don't have too many more. There's a bit where Chris Evans talking to his son after his son's been suspended from school, I think, and he's basically saying, I got in trouble because I hacked into the computer to do all this, and he's like, well, of course you got caught. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. If you're going to break the rules, break. And it's a good way to have Evans still be a bad guy while still giving good bad advice.
Yeah.
And being a good dad, because he does want to help his kid. It's just the way he knows to do that is to try and make him a better criminal.
Yeah, exactly. So that one works, I think. There's kind of a baffling line when The Rock says something about, you're only human, and then Chris Evans like, what, you're not human? And The Rock's like, do I look human? I'm like, yeah, dude, you do. You're a large human, but you do look human.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have like glittery skin or anything. So that was and then the fact that we never find out what he's meant to be is also kind of baffling, because we know elves aren't elves in this thing. Elf is an acronym, so
he's a reindeer.
He is like 300 years old, they keep saying, or something like that. I don't know. It's weird. Let's see. I think that's... Oh, yeah, and I do like the design of the North Pole. Again, it has the problem of thinking of the North Pole as this efficient paramilitary warehouse is weird, but at least the design of it was, if you're going to do that, this is the version of that makes sense. It looks like a functioning place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that you're right. Yeah, it did. Again, it had that, but I'll talk more about that in a moment. Okay. Okay. That's all then. So in that case, let's move on to the one better thing. The one better thing.
Nothing from the OG team?
I forgot to ask you.
I mean,
I still haven't gotten into the swing of that.
It's all for the best. I would have just trolled you on Twitter.
Damn it.
The only reason to be on that side anymore.
It is literally the name of my account. Is the only reason I have Twitter is to troll OGT.
Yeah, okay. I need to get back to doing that because I missed that. Okay, what have we got? What have we got in terms of better things?
Look, it's going to be one better thing and also a sneaky plug for our other podcast, Starring Springfield, where we're reviewing movies that star the cast of The Simpsons and starring Phil Hartman. Jingle All the Way. You mentioned it before with Turbo Man. It's just... It's a dumb fucking movie, but at least it's fun. Like, and also stars a wrestler. The Big Show Paul White makes an appearance in that one.
It is somewhat also baffling in the sense of, who is this for?
Yeah. But like, mostly it's a kids-ish movie, and it's bright and colorful and fun. And even though, it's probably a bit more people and action heavy for your average Christmas outing, it still has fun scenes. Phil Hartman's killing it as that annoying horny neighbor eating Arnold Schwarzenegger's cookies. He tells him to put the cookie down. Fucking 5 stars.
I feel like it's interesting because Jingle All the Way in so many ways is just a very similar movie in terms of its cynical commercial aspirations.
Oh, yeah.
But it bespeaks such a more wholesome time in which that's the movie that could be made to cynically get butts on seats. A family drama, a comedy in which Arnold Schwarzenegger runs about the place trying to get a Turbo Man toy, mostly set in real locations you can identify and relate to.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's bespeaks the cinema of the 1990s so well.
Yeah, and is just bright and not this drab, mostly taking place at night thing that Red One is,
Yeah, and just the days when, if you wanted a movie to be big, you didn't have to just try and rip off Marvel.
Yeah.
You could make just... Yeah, I was thinking about that, about Christmas with the Cranks of all things the other day.
Okay.
It's just like, at least it's not trying to be everything else. At least it is just happy to be what it is, which is an absolutely dire family drama comedy. Anywho, before I get too mired in nostalgia, is to actually look back fondly at fucking Christmas with the Cranks. BT, what have you got?
I couldn't think of any Christmas movies, so I'm just gonna say Jumanji, the Rock Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah.
If you wanna watch some Rock do some stuff, and it's fun, it's fun.
Yeah.
And Karen Gillian kicks things. What else do you want?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the canon of Christmas action movies is out there. You've got pretty much anything that Shane Black was ever involved in. This year, I'm due my rewatch of The Long Kiss Goodnight, which I didn't watch last year, so I'm looking forward to that. Similarly, I haven't watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in a little while, so I think I might partake of that as well. And then beyond that, you recently had Violent Night, which was, I think, quite good fun. Again, I didn't watch that last year, so I think as I get older, I'm going to try alternating certain films on certain years, because if I do just keep watching some films every single year, I'm going to get really sick of them. So I think it's time to start putting them on a rota.
Actually, if we want a still bit of Marvel in our Christmas movie, it's not a full movie, but the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, I was surprised how much I enjoyed this. And
it's fun.
When they hit the Pogues, what is it? Thing of New York.
Oh, Fairy Tale of New York.
Thank you. I genuinely welled up. I think they really earned the moment at the end of that thing, and that was surprisingly affecting.
Yeah, agreed. That's a fun film.
I like that. And also, Iron Man 3 is set at Christmas because it was written by Shane Black. But yeah, I've alluded to it a couple of times. If you haven't seen After Christmas, it's wonderful. It's a Aardman film, actually, but it's a CG animated Aardman film about a Santa who exists in a world where Christmas is a very tight military operation, and it's about getting time for him to retire, and it's time for his son to sort of take over. It has James McAvoy, Hugh Laurie, and Bill Nighy, and Jim Broadbent, but it also just has the craziest cast of extras ever, and I don't think I've ever seen a full breakdown of, like a YouTube compilation of where everyone is, but like they've got just looking at the list: Sanjeev Bhaskar, Robbie Coltrane, Joan Cusack, Rhys Darby, Jane Horrocks, Andy Serkis, Dominic West.
Wow.
Who else is in here? Kevin Eldon, Richard Fulcher, Danny John Jules, Freddie Red Dwarf fans out there, Stuart Lee. What the fuck? And it's just bizarre.
Oh, I just seen on this list as well another superhero Christmas movie. Technically, Batman Returns. I'm
actually due to watch that again this year too.
I think it's my favorite of those '90s Batman movies, and definitely up there for all-time Batman flicks. Yeah.
The aesthetic of that movie is just immaculate, and screw the parents who took against it because they didn't like.
Yeah,
they didn't feel it was a good advert for McDonald's. Yeah. They want Danny DeVito with his streamy bloody nose getting in the way. Oh God. Right. Well, I think that's about going to do it for us. Yeah. That was the one better thing. So, where can people find out more about BT and Elliot?
Well, we are making a couple of podcasts at the moment. If you like The Simpsons, we have The Simpsons Index, where Paul Salt's joined us for a fair few appearances. You were even lucky to be a part of the Before Times, where we were reviewing classic episodes.
Yes, I had a quick look at the spreadsheet, actually, and remembered that I got to review a grand total of one episode of the period of The Simpsons I truly love, and it was the Itchy and Scratchy Land.
Yeah.
Nice.
You also did
blessed.
Bart Gets an A, and or Bart Gets an F, rather.
I did Bart Gets a Z.
And Bart Gets a Z.
Fuck me.
Yeah, but we're reviewing mostly the new episodes now. Paul's made an appearance reviewing it.
Because we've covered them all.
That's it. We're getting close.
We have done more episodes than anyone else on the goddamn planet.
That's right. Eat it, 4-finger discount. But we're also just spun out into a new podcast called Starring Springfield, where you movie-loving fans will probably be more on board with this. We're reviewing the movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. And, we have reviewed such cinematic classics as Maximum Overdrive, which features a young Yardley Smith. And, previously mentioned Jingle All the Way with Phil Hartman. What else, BT?
Oh, geez. I'm trying to remember, because we've had such a wide variety. The first one, everyone yells at us, is Godzilla.
Yep.
We absolutely did that first. We did a baffling film called Rhapsody Street Kids Believe in Santa. If you want to keep those Christmas vibes going, but also don't. Like, legitimately, it's genuinely bad.
Yeah, have you heard of this one, Paul?
No. What is it?
It's okay. So it's made in the year 2000. It looks like it was animated on one of those early Corel 3D animation programs. It looks so bad, and it's called Rhapsody Street Kids : Believe in Santa, and it stars Nancy Cartwright, and she was also on in a producerial capacity because they were expecting this thing to be like a franchise that they could build off, and this was the only one that they produced. And yeah, it looks bad. It's recorded bad. Like, all the audio recordings are like, some of the characters sound like they were in different rooms, and there's just
oh my god,
so many plosive. This movie pops with all the plosives. It's got, sorry, but I have to illustrate the point. Like, this is just anyway, it's available for free on YouTube. It's like a 40-minute flick. There's a great, I think, Polygon article about the disaster that it is.
Love that.
And yeah, it is just a fascinating deep dive into that utterly baffling film.
Incredible.
So yeah. Anyway, so our podcast starring Springfield, not
Yay.
available on all the good pod things, on YouTube and all that. We've also got Patreon where you can suggest the movies that we review on starring Springfield.
Yep. We have 50 in the bank there.
Yep. Go check out all that. You can hit up thesimpsonsindex.com for all links to that, and I'm sure in the show notes of this lovely podcast as well.
Oh yeah, you will. Absolutely. Fabulous. Yes, excellent. Go do that. Go do all of that. These are incredible podcasts with these two beautiful human beings.
Thanks, mate.
And when you get tired of that, you can come back to us at OGT Pod, where you'll find out all of our stuff. You know the way it goes. OGT Pod, in order to find out all of the things. We've got a Patreon with so much content in it. Oh my god, it's crazy how much stuff is in there. Yeah, and we've also got Quest Fantastic, the role-playing podcast that we do. Go check that out. And Jen and the Film Critic, which is where all of the film criticism is. All of it.
All of it.
Yeah, that'll do. I'm Paul of it.
I'm Elliot the J. O'Neill.
I'm out of puns.
And remember, the one good thing about Red One is the dream that it gave us of the Yule Cat.
Meowy Christmas, all of us.
Yep.
Meowy Christmas.